And we are live with episode 102, 102, baby, of the Start Build Growth Show. Randy Brothers, my friend, what is going on, man? How you doing?
Living the dream, living the stay-at-home dream.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to. They just issued the whole stay-at-home, gotta wear masks if you go out in Colorado. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Girls are
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but super productive. So I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. Let's get a feel from the audience tonight. Are you guys feeling super productive, or are you feeling like beat down, or what is it? But I feel productive. I feel like I've been able to do a lot of get a lot of those those tasks that you just have on your list. You just kind of want to get done, and you just don't prioritize them. Like, I'll get done eventually. Especially with our with the academy and our programming, we've just added so much content and been able to really add a lot of value. So I just been making the
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, man. Staying at home, I'm not traveling nearly as much. I'm not speaking, not doing all these things. So I kind of miss that, but it's also been nice to really focus on those things that are important. And then at home,
Well,
it's all good. How about you, man? How you doing?
before we bring on the guests, I'm glad you mentioned the word miss, and I saw your post in our Facebook group. You said, "What do you miss the most during quarantine?" Well, Randy Brothers, what do you miss the most during quarantine?
Traveling, man. I mean, I don't I'm not normally like a stay at home. I try to leave the house at least like once a day, even if I'm working at home on a regular basis. But I like to travel. I mean, we had
Yeah.
number of events that got postponed or canceled, and our own event, our mastermind event we are going to do, got canceled, and we were supposed to go to Mexico, supposed to go to California, like all these things. So kind of a bummer. Miss the beaches, miss traveling, miss going to the mountains. I miss snowboarding. There's a lot of things. It is what it is, though. We're making the most of it, and hopefully, we're starting to see a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm. Well, without further ado, do you want to bring in our guest? I mean, you got a pretty good
Let's
connection to
do it.
this guy.
Yeah, we kind of know each other a little bit at this point. Man, again, it's interesting because it's crazy how life works out in this business, right? I always talk about how roofing isn't really a job; it's more of a lifestyle. And this is and Clayton is like a lifestyle roofing brand. He's been in the business for a long time. He's done a lot, and it has a really unique story and kind of how he got in, and we got connected. We all of a sudden were like, hey, we're gonna try to grow our business, and we're looking for this specific role. And a number of people are like, you guys should connect. You guys should connect. You guys should talk. And here we are. Here we are 4 or 5 months later, crushing the game and having a lot of fun with it. So he works with me now, but he's been in the business a while and has some pretty cool stories. So pretty stoked to bring on this. You guys are gonna learn a lot tonight. He's a stud when it comes to the roofing game, sales, management, all the above, commercial sales. So I want to get some good questions. Let's try to stump Clayton tonight. Welcome aboard, Mr. Clayton
Ooh,
Putman. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to be here.
absolutely. Clayton is a very, very talented man, including cornhole, man. We were at where were we at again? We were at
You
was the
would bring
IRE.
this up, wouldn't you?
That
Yep,
small
you would
event
bring
down
it
in
up.
Dallas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's small. We were at the IRE, the International Roofing Expo. We had armadillo racing going on one side of the
Mhm.
bar, and me and Clayton took it to Randy Brothers that night, man.
It
I don't
was
want to hear it. I was distracted. I wasn't on my A game that day. It's all right. Every once in a while.
Oh man,
Don't worry. Hey, I've
wait,
been practicing. I got my cornhole
have
boards
you?
out in the yard. Oh yeah. So bring it
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
game on.
Okay.
I
All
think I'm
right. Game on.
retired, Nick. After we won 3-0, I think I just got to hang up the bags and be done.
Ended on top. Ended on top. I love it. Well, we got some people in the house. We got Rachel Iverson. She's saying, "What's up?" She said, "Spring is here and things are starting to roll despite all the new challenges." That's what's up. We said Dakota. We got local 20 says still getting that money. We got Latif. Latif says, "What's up?" We got Aubrey. Charles in the house. We got Chris Pendy in the house. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Well, so we always like to start with the story, right? That way we have some kind of a background on who you are and stuff. Clayton, so how did you get into roofing? What's your story?
Sure. I've been in this industry for 11 years, Denver for all of it, and graduated from A&M back in 2008. Had to get to Colorado, so moved up here immediately. And I was fortunate enough to get a job at Allied Building Products and became an outside sales rep for them. So didn't know much about roofs at all back in the day, right? Besides the fact that they were just up on top of the house. And I had a lot of cool leaders and mentors over there that took me under their wing and taught me a lot, man. They taught me a lot about sales, a lot about our industry, product knowledge, and fortunately was lucky enough to be able to grow that into a career and be here today.
And then you start doing your own thing too as well, right?
Yeah, I did. So the first 5 years of my roofing experience, I worked at Allied Building Products. And for the past 5 years, I owned and operated a residential and commercial company here in the Denver market. And so I was lucky enough to be able to start that from scratch, right? Which is a hard thing to do in our very competitive Denver market. There's a lot of contractors here that are both skilled in roofing and some other guys that have room to grow. And we got a lot of space and a lot of hail that feeds everybody. And back in November of 2019, I was able to sell my business, which is kind of a rarity in our industry, and fortunate enough to find Randy. And now we're on the same team and making moves. It's great.
So as your 5 years as a roofing business owner, what did you learn? What advice do you have for the other owners out there who are listening?
Man, I think the number one thing that I learned being a business owner is how important it is to be a good leader to your people, right? And that goes to everyone. So if you're the guy at the top, people look to you to make decisions and they want guidance. They want to be led. People want to be led. And if you don't have the answers or if you don't have the next step, I think it's okay to be honest and say, hey, I don't know what we're going to do from here, but you need to quickly figure out an answer, put together a strategy, and then send that down the chain so that everyone can make a good group decision and step forward together.
Cool.
Yeah,
man.
that's interesting. On the leadership thing, where people, as a leader of a business, you're kind of automatically just put on this expectation level where you're expected to have all the answers, right? You're expected to know everything, expected to have all the answers. And I think that's a big thing that nobody anticipates that level of, like, when you start a business, you're like, all right, I'm just gonna go start a business. We're gonna be an entrepreneur. We're gonna go make money, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, you start hiring people, start leading people, and you don't have all the answers.
Totally.
Right. How do you adapt to that? So adaptation is key, and having good mentorship and understanding that I think, humility and vulnerability are key elements in leadership that people don't pay enough attention to. Just because you admit that you don't know something doesn't mean you're losing your credibility. When you BS your way and bull crap all the time and just feed people lines of crap just because you think they want to hear the whatever the answer is, that's how you ruin your credibility. So I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So now let's dive into what you're kind of doing with Randy. So now you're on the commercial side of things. So let's just discuss a little bit what you guys are doing now with the commercial side of things.
Yeah. So started with Elite back in January of this year. So we've been there about 5 months, 5 months now. And I think our overall goal is to really make Elite one of the top tier and most commonly known contractors when you think commercial roofing, whether it's re-roof, service work, all that kind of stuff in the city of Denver. There are several very good commercial contractors in our state. And so it's no small task to be considered up there at that same tier as them. But I think at Elite, we have the team and the support staff that can allow that to be possible. My role there is to go out and network, build relationships, and sell commercial jobs. And that comes in two forms, right? Roof removal and replacement, and then also the service and maintenance sector of those low slope roofs.
So, okay. So for the people who are just kind of getting going or are, looking at commercial as a great opportunity to kind of scale the business, where's kind of the best way to kind of get that in motion or get that started?
I think the best answer there is start small, right? I know a lot of business owners who have a pretty polished residential game, whether it's based on retail sales or hail damage insurance, right? And they think, oh, I'll just convert over to commercial roofing. How hard can it be? And the answer is it's very hard, and it's actually very risky, right? There's a lot of things that come into play in commercial, your building codes, the different way that people make decisions, the decision makers, the ways that you can easily get strung along with the promise of a contract and it gets ripped out from under you.
How can you avoid that? How can
How can you avoid
that?
that?
Because that's a tough, dude. That one hurts, dude. That
Yeah.
hurts your heart.
Sure. I actually had one of those last month, and it took me several days to get over, right? Like I feel
Yeah.
that. I think the key there is to understand your client and ask a lot of questions, right? We need to discover their needs and figure out what their buy cycle is. How do they arrive at their decisions? What are they hoping to accomplish in this project? And when you have a good understanding of that, I feel like you and I become partners, right? And so I'm trying to help you achieve your goal as a building owner, a decision maker, a property manager, as opposed to just being a guy that's peddling a roof product and offering you a low price. Nothing that I do ever comes with a low price. And so we're always selling knowledge, experience, value, and the fact that we're reliable and we're going to be here in the future.
So I think that kind of comes. Oh, go ahead, Randy. You got
No, I
something
was
to
gonna
say? It
say
sounds like.
you mentioned starting small, and I think a lot of people have this big grandeur. I mean, you can't turn on Facebook without seeing someone post this. Yeah, look at this huge whale I just got on. That doesn't mean you got the contract. Just
Sure.
because you stood on a roof doesn't mean you're automatically a gajillionaire roofer. However, sometimes people get those, but they're always going to post that the biggest, baddest contract they've ever got in their life.
Of course.
But what people don't post is all the base hits.
Yep.
Right? What's the $3,000 repair, the $5,000 deal, the $10,000 coding job that you do a number of those. Then you work to 20, work to 100, and then you work your way up to the $3, $4, $5 million jobs. But you can't just go out there only whale hunting. It's you got to be able to do the small jobs and the repair jobs to build the relationships that ultimately lead to a lot higher success rate on the larger jobs, versus just trying to dive into a barrel with 12 other roofers to try to compete for that one monster job that's literally just going to be whoever is willing to make the biggest mistake or be the cheapest contractor, right?
I was
So
going to
it's
say,
all about positioning yourself to be the primary roofer when the opportunity comes, and people don't want to put that time and effort in. Right? They want to hit a home run right now, and they don't realize that that it takes a while to really build, an efficient, effective, large scale commercial department.
When you're trying to end up on those whale contracts, right? A comment I always like to make when I meet a new customer or a new potential client is, what is the largest leak issue that you've had other people out, they couldn't solve it, it's driving you nuts, it keeps you up at night? Give me that project. Let me go solve that for you to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about, that my team is talented, that we can make these things happen, and then we'll go from there. And when you have the ability to close on those jobs, they see, hey, this guy's serious. This organization is serious. They have the ability to diagnose, come out, solve, and make my headaches go away, which at the end of the day, that's what our customers want, right? They want their challenges and their headaches in the commercial space to go away so they can get more tenants, rent out more units, and at the end of the day, make more money.
So when you walk into, a room with a prospect, or if you're prospecting online now, whatever it might be, right, just due to the circumstances, they see another roofing salesman probably in the front end. How do you change that perspective to be like, I'm an asset for you guys. I'm here to help. I'm here to make an impact for you guys.
Sure. I think there's two approaches, right? One of them is we have that 1, 2, 3 email system, right? Where we go ahead and we reach out initially, make a contact, a suggestion about how we can bring value to their business. Then we have a casual follow-up a couple weeks later, and then a third one before we close out attempts on that customer. And those are basically good introductory emails that talk about, again, our ability to diagnose and solve issues, our ability to add value to the situation, our ability to prevent the headaches before they even happen. And then the second one, if I'm able to engage someone in an actual conversation, whether it's in LinkedIn, on the phone, et cetera, I like to talk to them about ways that I can help prevent unforeseen maintenance costs, right? How I can increase tenant occupancy rates, how I can make them look like an all-star to their boss. But at the end of the day, I try not to talk, and instead I want to ask questions to research and say, what are your challenges? What kind of priorities do you guys have at your organization, whether it's property management, apartment communities, right, where you might have 1,000 people living in a community, and just making sure that I understand their needs, because I can craft our proposals to whatever needs those people have. That's a very easy thing to do. At Elite, we're flexible, and we have a lot of autonomy here in the commercial division to sell to our clients the way they want to be sold to. And so I think that as soon as we understand that, that's where our value add comes into play.
You got anything to add on to that, Randy?
I no, man. The reason why he does what he does is he knows his stuff when it comes to this. So I think again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know a broken record here, but it's all about relationships. It's all about like understanding the needs, the true needs of your potential clients. So he nailed it with ask questions and listen. Those are two things that salespeople. What's the stigma of salespeople? And me included. I can over talk. I can talk too much, or I'm gonna just sell you on everything. That's the greatest since sliced bread. But the best salespeople are the ones that really listen, that are intuitive, that ask great questions, and that are genuinely curious.
Yep.
Right. I think curiosity is such a key, untalked about element for successful sales. If you're genuinely curious, why do you need what you need? What's your decision-making process like? And be genuinely curious about as much as you about things, you're gonna stimulate great conversation that leads to sales and leads to relationship building.
Well, we got Ryan Groth on here. He says, "What's up?" He says, "Clayton, my man." He says he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. What do you think? What would Groth tell you? What advice would Groth give you?
I know what advice Ryan Groth
Coach
would give
Groth,
me.
what's he gonna say?
Yeah.
If Ryan Groth could tell me one thing, he'd say, "You got to watch out for the happy years, right?
Oh,
And you got to
yeah.
continue to establish, like, qualify their decision and their ability to make the purchase." I think that it's always hard to get to those decision makers, right? And that's something that we talk about and harp on regularly, is making sure that the person I'm interacting with is qualified to sign that contract and help us move forward.
So let's say that a client gets 3 to 5 bids, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you differentiating yourself? How is Elite Roofing? How is Clayton differentiating himself from the pack?
I hope that differentiation already exists, right? There's a lot of people out there who have to get 3 bids for their company before they're able to arrive at a decision. But I hope those other 2 to 4 bids aren't even factored in, because I have that pre-existing relationship of ways that I've helped you out in the past, like Randy said, with our small service projects, coatings, etc. So that by the time we step up to these large removal replacements, it's kind of a formality to have a few other contractors come in there to spot check my pricing. And I expect and respect that process, right? Because we need to make sure that everyone's in the same ballpark. But as far as differentiation, Elite brings a lot to the table, right? I first of all like to talk about the fact that we've been doing this for 10 years. And then secondly, something I really like is that we're part of the GAF CMP, which is a certified maintenance professional program. And that allows us to offer extended single ply warranties that only 5 other companies in the state of Colorado are able to offer. So when we get into these people who are holding very large buildings, right, the size of Home Depots, Walmarts, car dealerships, multiple strip malls, that's meaningful because they're going to be keeping those buildings for the long term. This is not kind of a fix and flip, and they need a warranty and an organization that is there for them. And that comes in 2 facets, right? A, installing a quality product initially, but then B, having the service techs and the staff available to go out there and maintain that roof to keep it in good condition. I think it's foolish to spend $700,000 or $1 million on a roof and then not factor in a 20 or 25-year lifespan, the cost of maintaining it to keep that thing going. No one goes out and buys a $50,000 car and doesn't change the oil, right? You're going to love that car. You're going to make sure the oil's changed, the maintenance is done, because $50,000 is a lot of money. We want to protect that ride, just like we want to protect roofs.
Randy, what about you, my friend?
Hey man, he's on point. What can I do here? I was getting ready to reply to Latif. He says, "Nick, where's the beard with this quarantine?" And Nick can't really grow a beard. So
what do you think? Do I
what do?
do I not shave for the rest of the quarantine and see what happens, or what do you think?
Let's see what happens. Let's see what
You
happens.
start a beard growing competition between the 3 of us.
You guys are loving that. You guys finally got me in something.
Yeah, of course. Now we're kind of totally derailed. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors there, Nick.
Yeah, 100%. What about One Click Code? My boy Gary Kurt with One Click Code. You guys using that Elite Roofing?
Heck yeah, man. Clayton, let's keep this organic. I mean, you've been in this market for a while. How many challenges have you seen over the years of just clarifying code cover, or like what building, like building codes of all the different areas that we need to know about. Like there's 50 different jurisdictions in Colorado or more, and they all have little different code nuances. And half the time you may have an address of a house and you don't even know, is it the county or is it the city, or where do I even go to pull a permit? And that's been a challenge that started here, but they kind of saw as an opportunity to do this all across the whole country.
Yeah, that's an endless battle, right? On the residential side, on the commercial side, how much insulation? Do I need ice and water or not? Do I need rake edge metal? All these things that are never ending questions. And the worst thing you can do is guess, right? You need to get a solid answer. And oftentimes that can lead to a lot of wait time on hold with the building department, or constant emails, constant phone calls that never get returned.
Yep. So, and again, not to mention the amount of money you can save or earn by having your proper codes in line for your supplement, to make sure that if you're doing insurance work, that you're getting paid for everything on that job and that you're doing it properly. You know, it's crazy how many jobs are built not to code. Even the building departments don't realize, like, especially ventilation code. I'm not going to go into that, but I think 90% of roofs don't have the proper ventilation, and building departments don't even know the difference, right? So having a one source, a one-click code to be able to jump online and jump on either a website or an app to, in the field, not only figure out what the code is, but you can also get a report that's going to be approved by the insurance carriers. Imagine being able to expedite your supplementing by having that, your credibility right there in hand. This is a code that's required on this address. Here's from a credible source, and that's what oneclickcode.com is all about. So definitely check that out if you're doing supplementing insurance work, or you just want to make sure you're building the right job. Oneclickcode.com is going to be your solution.
And then, of course, with the Roofing Academy, one of the biggest things that you focus on is implementing technology, CRMs, all these different tools that you can use, especially in today's circumstances. So tell us a little bit about Job Nimbus, Randy, and how important you think that tool is for you to find success with your company.
It's unparalleled to our success. I mean, we scaled our business rapidly, in a number of 6-7 years. What was it, Grant Cardone say, 10x? We literally 10x'd our business in 6 years. And a huge contributor to that was having a great CRM system that we were able to custom tailor and adjust as we built our business. So, that relationship started with Job Nimbus, and they continue to push the envelope. They continue to add new partnerships and new integrations. They continue to make their product better and better and better. And it's been just a fun journey to be a part of it, and very grateful to have a technology source like that, resource like that, to help us build our business. I mean, Clayton, you joined us 5 months ago, and were you using Job Nimbus before? What's your thought now that you're fully integrated with it?
No, I came from an AccuLynx background, right? And so I think Job Nimbus, people say it all the time, right, is AccuLynx on steroids. And I remember the first day I started, Rebecca got me a login. She's like, hey, this is Job Nimbus. Okay, here we go. And I started poking around and seeing what was going on in there, and it was overwhelming at first. But now that I'm using it, Bree is a genius in the way that she's laid it all out and customized it right and gotten trained up, and she can just ninja her way through that entire program. And what that leaves us salespeople with is the ultimate CRM to track our conversation with customers, the photo tracking, all the financials, the way that we can reach out to the service department to get texts out to our jobs, tracking the payments. It's a top-notch program. And if I was still doing it on my own, I wouldn't know what I was missing, but I would take Job Nimbus over AccuLynx all day, every day.
Man, he went all in. I don't even go that
was
far.
Good. That was
I like
good.
it.
That was
I like it.
And for those of you watching, whether you are TRA members or you're future TRA members, TRA as in the Roofing Academy, that's one of the services that we offer. Is Bree is one of our coaches. She's also CEO of our company, and she helps our members coordinate and organize a really sophisticated system in Job Nimbus. So that's a small little add-on to being a member. So definitely, if you want to learn more about that or talk more about that, hit us up at theroofingacademy.com.
I was talking to Bree today, and she was helping somebody set up their Job Nimbus. That's in the Roofing Academy. But real quick, before we dive back into it, we had a couple comments. Ryan Groth, Nick would smash all y'all in the gym though. And then Aubrey says Nick's got
You would
guns.
mention that one.
Yeah. So just to
You
let you
would
guys know,
mention
but
that one.
now we can go back into the conversation. So, one thing that I did want to talk about too was your margins, right? I think, bidding out the projects can be difficult, and then figuring out a way where obviously you want to win the project, but you want to retain your margins. What's kind of the best approach to that strategically to make sure that you're hitting the margins that you guys want to be at?
I think the number one challenge there, or thing that you have to lock down, is understanding your costs, right? So like, what are the true costs to produce a job? And I think that if you don't have a good grasp of that, you're not able to reverse engineer it into a margin that A, you want and need to operate your business, and then B, is going to keep you profitable for the long term. If I'm putting together a good commercial project, removal replacement, I'm looking at like that 40% margin category. And that's a divide by 0.6, right? That's not a take my cost and then multiply it by 0.4 type thing. And then there's always a little bit of discussion one way or another, because inevitably you're going to get those other 2, 3, 4 bids. And what I like to do is quote a system that no other contractor is quoting, so that it's hard to compare apples to apples to what I'm doing. There's a lot of people that say, oh, I want to make sure this is apples to apples. Well, Elite's not like any other company. I'm already above the rest of the people that we're competing against, because the staff and the support that are behind me. And so when I give that proposal over, you're not going to find the things that I've identified or scoped out on anyone else's paperwork. And I know that. And I think that comes with a respectful but notable cost increase.
100%. Well, so we got a comment here. I don't know if you guys. So Daisy says, "Man, contractors must start supporting women contractors and give us work." What do you think?
I agree 100% that there's a lot of opportunity for women in roofing, women contractors, and we all have the equal opportunity to earn business and do business and conduct business, and my business is ran by women, and I work with a number of female-owned contractors, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think the future of our industry is in the future, the growth of leadership in our industry is going to be from females, and so I support that. I mean, am I going to give you work? No, you got to earn it. That's how it is. I mean, that doesn't make a difference. Like, a human is a human. We're looking for quality people regardless of anything else. If you
I
good at
love
your
that.
job, if you're good at executing, regardless of any of those things, you're gonna get the work. You can get the business.
The ladies that work in the office at Elite are incredible. I think every single person that is employed by Elite is an A player, like a true solid A player. But I remember walking around that office before Randy extended a job offer to me, and just thinking, man, everyone in here just has their stuff together to a T, and they're getting after it, right? They get after it in a fun way, but they are not messing around. They're there to make things happen.
And then Rachel also said, check out National Women in Roofing too. If you're not a member, join that. So that'd be a great thing to do as well.
For sure.
So we got another question here. I price my project in a way that I add all the costs of my materials and labor, and to that total, I add my markup. Is that a way you guys use? And if so, what's a good markup to use? 1.5, 1.6, 2?
Yeah, so that is generally the way we do it, right? We're looking at 3 things: material, labor, and profit are the main attributes of a contract amount. The only correction I would make there is kind of talking about the difference between margin and markup. And when I said the 40%, so I would take, maybe your number, the 1.6. If we're trying to get a 60% profit on that, if I think that's what you're trying to do, I would never multiply my material and labor by 1.6. Instead, I would divide it by 0.4 for that 60%. And that's a true way that you're not shorting yourself when it comes to the margin of a job. And there's a slightly more technical explanation of that you could easily Google. But again, I'm always trying to divide by the opposite number. So if I want a 40% margin, I'm dividing my total job costs by 0.6.
And keep in mind, these are examples we're talking about here, everybody. Like, we're not, these are just examples of how to understand the difference. But a common mistake that contractors make is they take their numbers and they do a markup. They pick an arbitrary percentage and they market it by that amount. But when you actually reverse those numbers, say you mark it up by 40%, that's more like a 28% margin. So if you're doing it the wrong way, you're really putting yourself in a tough spot. And obviously we can't get too technical when it comes to the like specific numbers, because different markets, different contractors, there's a lot of different variables and different things that you do there. But these are some great examples, great tools to use when determining what your ultimate markup and margin needs to be.
Totally.
Is there any tools that you guys really like then, for almost a free promotion, I guess, but is there any tools that you guys really like in terms of estimating or anything in terms of commercial roofing?
We're using Sumo Quote for both. I mean, it's pretty cool. And there's a couple different tools, like really sophisticated tools. If you have the capacity to do it, you can use something like the Estimating Edge, which is designed specifically for commercial contractors. I think there's another one that Clayton used to use. But ultimately, regardless of what you're using, I think the most important piece is collecting and gathering all your data properly. You got to know what you're doing when you're on a roof. I mean, every curb has a value, every corner has a value, every penetration has a value, every scupper has a value, parapet walls, cap, like all these things have certain costs associated to them. It's not like this arbitrary, well, I'm going to do that roof and it's going to be $700 a square. It doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way at all. And I know a lot of residential contractors do that. They're just like, well, I'm going to bid everything at X amount per square and hope I make money. And that's, it's the path of least resistance, and it's also the path of inexperience. But once you really learn what you're doing, you can kind of predetermine where you need to be by understanding the components and the full details of every single project you're doing.
The thing I would add to that too, if you're using an estimating program, right, Randy, like the Edge, setting it up on the front end and just spending the time to get all your data points entered into that thing initially will save you so much headache on the back end.
Okay, cool. And so we did have some follow-up on here for that question with the markup. He said, I didn't get it. I just add all, and at the end, 1.6, for example. And then Daisy said, can you repeat that formula so I can create it on Excel? Could you guys just run through that one more time?
Yeah.
Let's just talk about,
let's use that same scenario, and I'll let you answer too, but let's use that same scenario. Let's just, as an example, keep the numbers easy. Say your material and your labor, you calculate it all out and you figure out it's $10,000, right? And you want to have let's say a 30% margin. If you just arbitrarily take that $10,000 and multiply it by 0.3 to get you that's a 30% markup. But 30% or say $3,000 of 13,000 is not 30%. It's much less than 30%. So the way to do this is you reverse that. So if you're trying to go up if you want a 30% margin, take the opposite of that and then divide by the number of your actual costs. So let's go back to that $10,000 actual costs. Divide that by the inverse of the margin you want. So that means if you're trying to hit a 30% margin, you would divide by 70% or 0.7 in order to get you that 30% margin. It's really going to end up being more like 14,000.
I got the math on. So that's $14,285.
There you go.
Where if we're to multiply by 0.3, that obviously puts us at 13,000. That's a difference of about $1,300.
Yep.
I mean, imagine that with a bigger project. Imagine that with a bigger project size too, right?
Absolutely.
So what about for getting traffic via referrals? Do you guys have any tips or anything like that where you can get some opportunities on the commercial end via referrals, or what do you guys think?
It never hurts to go above and beyond someone's expectations. It starts there. If you can set yourself up as an expert and really engage and do a great job and go above and beyond someone's expectations, referrals are natural. Referrals are just going to happen. You don't have to leverage anything. If you're really doing a good job with somebody and going above and beyond and really like blow them away with your professionalism, your communication level, and your knowledge and your empathy towards them, referrals are just naturally going to happen. Obviously, there's some techniques and technical things you want to do, but it all starts with being genuine and really going above and beyond someone's expectations. Sorry to cut you off there. What were you going to say, Clayton?
Oh, no, I agree with that. I think reviews and referrals are probably two of the most important things towards gaining new business in a way that has almost zero marketing expense, right? If you can turn one job into 3 or 5, that's a huge win, especially in the commercial sector.
I like that a lot for sure. So do you guys kind of have a game plan then, kind of similar what you do the residential side that you guys are preparing on the commercial side for storms, or what does that kind of look like?
100% gathering our data right now. It's a lot about making sure we have all of our email lists ready to go. Every past customer that we've ever had from the last 5 years, everybody that, even if we didn't sell them a roof, we keep that information. So now we have this huge list of people that is the second a storm hits, we're going to get our hail trace and we're going to send an email to all those people that already know who we are. It's the first step. And that's great. And then also focus heavily on the relationships, the centers of influence. Thanks, Ryan Groth, for the term there. Give my man at the sales transformation group a little love. And have those people as top of mind. Okay. So the reality of a storm hits, every insurance agent in town is getting bombarded by roofing contractors. If you're building those relationships now before the storm hits, who do you think that insurance agent is going to stand by and going to represent or going to send? Focus on that. Bring them lunch, bring them coffee, do what you got to do to maintain that relationship. So those are the two. I mean, I'm giving it away, but those, I could say these things because most people won't go the extra mile to do these things.
It takes a huge amount of effort, focused effort, to accomplish that, right? Focused effort and focused follow-up. And it can take your day and your week and your months away from you, right? Away from your family, away from the things you love. But if you keep making those repeated steps to build those relationships, it'll pay endless dividends down the road.
So Daisy asks, when is it appropriate to ask a client for their budget?
So in the commercial space, right, when I'm trying to get an idea of the spending habits of a client, I like to do a few things before that. First of all, I'm trying to determine if this person is qualified to buy from me. And so that comes with a lot of research questions, understanding their situation that they're in, trying to develop pain points. And every time that I'm asking a question and they're getting more emotional and I can see everything building up in them, I'm understanding that I'm on the right track, right? So this opportunity is just a giant ball of yarn that I'm trying to slowly unravel till I get to the core. Once I know what their true problem is and that I have a solution for it, then I go through the steps of making sure they're a qualified purchaser by asking, how do you guys arrive at these purchase decisions? Is there anyone else in this company or organization that cares about the outcome of this project, et cetera, et cetera? And then finally, once all those questions are answered, I do ask, if you have an idea of what this project costs. But before I get to that, Nick, I try to get that customer to go ahead and put a price to the problem not being solved. So a great example of that is if I'm in a commercial warehouse space that has multiple leaks, inventory is getting damaged, employees can't work at their desks due to the moisture. Maybe the fire department's having to come out because the fire panel's getting saturated or flooded. And so I would ask Randy, say, hey, Randy, that seems like a pretty significant problem. What kind of cost do you put to that? And he says, well, I got $30,000 of inventory over here that's damaged. I got 3 guys at $25 an hour over here that haven't been able to work for 4 or 5 days. Say, okay, so what are we looking at there? Then finally we'll hit that spot where he says, man, this has to be a $70,000 or $75,000 problem. Anytime you can get someone to go ahead and put a price on the issue they're facing, now we're truly at the bottom of that emotion and you have a lot of opportunity.
Nice.
And then from there, if I know he has a $70,000 problem and I have a $25,000 solution, we're here. Let's sign the contract and get the work done, right? And that's a great thing. So find those pain points, price that problem, know your solution, and then see what their budget is.
So obviously on the commercial side, the sales cycle can be much longer than on the residential side. Do you kind of have a specific follow-up process that you'd like to kind of use as guidelines, or how do you kind of go about that?
Yeah, I have a personal follow-up process that I like to use, and so I have certain day increments that I'll do continued light touches, and to me that might be 4, 5, 6 attempted interactions with the customer via email, via phone call to see did you get the proposal? Have you had a chance to review it? Have you guys arrived at a decision? Are we able to move forward? And then if I'm just really getting stonewalled and not getting anywhere, You could do something like we kind of call it the "Are you mad at me?" email. Say, hey, Nick, I haven't heard back from you. I need to kind of move forward with this project, so my opportunity is I can help you, or I'd like to go service other clients. Are you mad at me? I haven't gotten a response back. What's going on? Did I offend you somehow with what I said? And that will always trigger a response. Another one that I like, which is a little bit brash, is if Randy's blowing me off, I would send him a one-sentence email and say, Randy, have you given up on solving this problem?
That's pretty good.
And everyone wants to say no, right? Because it is an issue. We've already priced the value of it, and he needs to find a solution. And so oftentimes those people come back and say, no, I haven't given up. I've just been busy with coronavirus. I've been quarantined, or I've been trying to help my first grader with online learning, or I've been trying to grow my own business. And it's like, hey, those are all understandable things, but at least that opens up your conversation window again to the point that we can hope to still take that job to closure.
Yeah.
So
I think
go for it.
the key there, the objective there is to get them to either communicate or just tell you no.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if they've moved on, if they've gone to somebody, it's natural. People are just gonna like either one of two things. They're either just gonna ignore you because it's not a priority for them, or they're gonna go with somebody else and not tell you. Right. And if you're doing your job, it's following up, you got to get to that point where you just got to be direct. Do I need to take you off my list? I have a lot of other clients that I want to make sure I take care of and give great value to. Do I need to take you off my list? Yes,
and one of the things that's very important, Randy, is when you're taking someone off the list because they chose someone else, I always like to ask, who did you choose? What solution did they offer? And are you comfortable sharing what their price was? Right? Because then that gives me feedback to work on my next proposals that I'm sending out to people. And oftentimes I find that there's just people that endlessly shred the true cost to do work, right? Or maybe we're looking at a markup versus margin situation, and the person thinks that they have a very profitable job in their hands, when in reality, that's not the case.
So how are you guys staying kind of on attack mode during quarantine, right? So how are you finding new opportunities, and how are you furthering the relationships that you guys already kind of, got in motion during these unique times?
For me, it's a lot of Zoom, right? So we can't be face to face, but we can at least see each other while we're talking. And so just trying to check in with some of my property managers, right? My agents, all those kind of things that I work with, and make sure that they're doing well. Ask them what's going on. How's the previous work that we did holding up for them? Do they have any other thoughts or concerns? But I think honestly, more than anything, to strengthen those relationships, I try to talk about anything that's not roof related, right? Not the way I get my income. And that could be as simple as, how is your family? How's the weather? How is your business? Or a great question I like to ask is, what is the biggest challenge you're facing today? And just let them stew on that, right? That's a pretty open-ended question. And people will tell you some heavy stuff, especially if you already have a good relationship going. And then I can become a thinking partner or a listening partner, right? Like sometimes you don't want to hear what I have to say. You just need someone to unload on and just talk it out. And it's like, hey, bro, we're here to do that. And I enjoy that part of adding value to my customers.
Well put.
Lots and lots of communication.
For sure.
Top of mind, communication, empathy, just ask questions and do what you can to, again, it all comes down to relationships, man.
So while we kind of close this thing out, we always end it with a gold nugget. Any kind of advice that you want to offer contractors or business owners or commercial salespeople, whatever it might be, based off your experience, just a golden nugget to say, I think if you did this, I think it would do wonders for you. But this time I'm going to start with you though, Randy. I'm going to make you give a golden nugget too, because man, you're Randy Brothers, my friend. You're full of insights. Let's see what you got today, baby.
I'm going to keep it simple and touch on something I already talked about early, and it's listen more, talk less. Okay, listen more and talk less in everything in life. Sales, leadership, your wife, all the above. Listen more, talk less, and life is going to start to come to you in a different way, and you're going to start to see things in a different way. So take that one.
I like that. Clayton, best for last. What you got?
Dude, I would say that success is not one giant leap, right? Like we're not just going to leap our way to success overnight. I think that just having the discipline to develop a daily routine and stay focused in that, and take those small steps forward towards your goal. And some days we go forward, some days we go backward, but the point is that we get up the next day and keep moving towards that target. And if you don't have a target, you need to sit down and set some goals, right? And those need to be written out. They need to be SMART goals. Everyone knows what those is. If not, look it up and just stay focused on that, and hard work. Good things come to those who work hard. Hard work is what this country is built on, and certainly what Elite was built on, right? And so if you stay focused on those things, good things will come to you. It's inevitable.
Man, dude, after this guy came in, you might be getting more applications for people wanting to work at Elite Roofing, man.
Let's go. Yeah, good luck. We're pretty difficult to. We're not really open for that right now. Our team is pretty solid, and we don't really just hire off the street. A lot of due diligence. But hey, let's close that out. SMART goals. Think about this.
Yeah.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. That's a great way to set goals. And if you definitely you Google that, you're going to see a million things on it. But I use that in my coaching and that's and within our own staff and everything. And I think it's that's a great little nugget for you guys to take away. Set goals, write them down, and make sure they're smart.
Well, cool, Clayton, man. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 102.
Guys, thanks for having me. It was a great time, and I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everybody.